You might think the ancient Egyptians slumbered like kings on golden beds, wrapped in linen and lulled by the Nile's whisper, their dreams as serene as the desert dawn. But the truth runs deeper, shadowed by rituals that blurred the line between life and the unseen world. Nights weren't just rest. They were gateways, fraught with superstitions that demanded vigilance against spirits stirring in the dark. If this pulls you in, hit that like button, subscribe for more journeys into the past, and drop a comment on what ancient mystery you'd face next. Picture the flicker of oil lamps casting long shadows on mud brick walls, the air thick with incense, and the faint hum of chants fading into silence. Now, imagine opening your eyes to the world reclaiming you. You wake in the hush of pre-dawn, grains of sand kissing your skin like a lover's reluctant farewell. The ground beneath you is cool and unyielding, a thin reed mat your only barrier against the earth's patient pull. Your body aches from the night's vigil, muscles stiff from the poses the priests insisted on, arms crossed over your chest, mimicking the eternal sleep of ancestors, to invite protective dreams rather than nightmares from the duat. You shift, sand sifting through your fingers, warm now from your own heat. The air tastes of dust and distant river mist, carrying the low rumble of the world stirring. In the dim light filtering through woven reeds, you see the outlines of your sleeping kin, their breaths syncing with the ritual rhythm, heads tilted toward the stars, to catch whispers from Nut, the sky goddess. Fear prickles your spine. Last night, the amulet at your throat grew heavy, warning of wandering boss souls that might slip into your slumber if you faltered. You rise slowly, brushing sand from your tunic, heart pounding as you scan the shadows for any unnatural shift, a superstition drilled into you since childhood, when elders spoke of sleep as a daily death, reclaimed only by the sun's mercy. You step toward the doorway, the cool stone underfoot grounding you. Outside, the horizon bleeds pink, and you feel the first true awakening, not just of body, but of the fragile thread tying you to the living realm. The priests will soon call for the morning offerings to seal the night's barriers, but for this moment, you're alone with the awe of survival. In the end, it's the sin that reminds you, time erodes us all, yet each awakening carves a mark deeper than any dream. You feel the first rays of the sun clawing at your eyelids, warm and insistent, like fingers prying open the night's grip. The air shifts, heavy with the scent of smoldering myrrh from the household shrine, sharp and resinous, pulling you fully into the light. Your skin prickles under the growing heat, the thin linen shift clinging damply from the night's sweat, a reminder of how close sleep had brushed the edge of something deeper, more perilous. You push yourself up from the low stool, where you sat through the dawn watch, joints protesting with a dull throb that echoes the sun god's relentless rise. Around you, the compound stirs. Women in faded kilts bend to kindle fires, their movements deliberate, eyes downcast in quiet deference, while a child nearby traces symbols in the dirt with a stick, warding off the lingering shadows of dream thieves. You sense their shared tension, the unspoken fear that mishandling this morning's rites could unravel the fragile peace bought by last night's incantations. Stepping into the courtyard, you scoop water from the clay basin, cool against your palms, splashing it over your face and neck. The liquid runs in rivulets, tasting faintly of the river's silt as a drop catches your lip. You murmur the words under your breath, invoking Ra's fire to burn away any Ba spirits that might have clung from your slumber. Echoes of half-remembered visions where jackal-headed guardians loomed too close. Your hands move to the offering bowl, fingers trembling slightly as you arrange barley grains and a few dates, the fruits sticky and sweet-scented, pressing them into neat rows to mirror the sun's path across the sky. The priest from the village temple arrives then, his staff thudding rhythmically on the packed earth, face etched with lines of perpetual vigilance. He nods once, a grave acknowledgement, and you join the circle forming around the central altar. Together you raise arms skyward, bodies swaying in unison as the light intensifies, casting elongated shadows that dance like hesitant souls. Heat builds in your chest, a primal surge demanding surrender. Bow lower, offer more, lest the day's demands expose you to the night's return, unbidden and unforgiving. As the sun crests fully, bathing everything in gold, you lower your gaze, breath, steadying. The rite complete, you feel the weight lift, but only just, the echo of Ra's power thrumming in your veins. It's in these demands that you glimpse our own fragility, bodies yielding to cycles older than memory, minds forever, chasing the light to outrun the dark. You catch the scent first, a rich, earthy tang of cooling clay rising from the workshop floor like a sigh from the ground itself. It's midday now, the sun's fire tempered by the overhang of woven palm fronds, but the air hangs heavy, laced with the faint bitterness of Nile silt mixed into the mud. Your hands, caked in the stuff, ache from the morning's knead, fingers raw where the straw bites in. You lean into the bench, pressing your palms deep into the lump before you, feeling it yield slowly, cool and pliant against your skin. The wheel spins under your foot's rhythm. Push, release, push. A steady thrum that echoes your pulse, pulling you into the labor's quiet demand. Around you, other potters hunch over their stations, brows furrowed in concentration, wiping sweat with forearms streaked brown, their glances meeting yours in brief nods that carry the weight of shared endurance. One pauses to smooth an edge with a damp cloth, eyes distant, perhaps recalling the night's uneasy dreams that this toil must fortify against. You shape the vessel higher, walls rising thin and even, your breath sinking with the turn. Tension coils in your shoulders, one slip, and the form collapses, spilling back to useless sludge, a waste that invites ill omens, whispers say, drawing the attention of lesser demons who prowl the edges of wakefulness. You adjust, thumbs pressing inward, the clay's resistance pushing back, cool seeping into your calluses like a promise of respite yet to come. The scent intensifies as the piece sets, water evaporating in lazy curls, mingling with the distant lowing of cattle and the slap of oars from the river path. Hours blur into the curve of handles you attach, twisting cordage tight to hold offerings for the evening rites, incense to ward off sleep's intruders, oils to anoint the bed against fevered visions. Your back protests as you lift the finished pot to the drying rack, arms trembling slightly, the weight settling like fatigue in your bones. The others straighten too, shaking out limbs, exchanging looks of quiet relief amid the lingering damp chill that clings to everything. As the sun dips lower, casting slanted light across the forms taking shape, you step back, wiping clay from your face, tasting its grit on your lips. The toil demands surrender, each vessel a barrier built against the night's uncertainties. In this yielding to the day's grind, you sense the body's quiet wisdom, endurance not as strength, but as the slow carve of survival into your very form. You smell the hearth smoke first, acrid and enveloping, curling up from the low fire pit like fingers reaching for the thatched roof. It's evening now, the day's heat bleeding away into a chill that seeps through the walls, prickling your arms as you kneel by the flames. The wood crackles softly, spitting embers that dance briefly before dying, and you poke at them with a stick, watching sparks rise in fleeting protest against the gathering dark. You stir the pot of emmer stew, the wooden spoon heavy in your hand, steam carrying the tangy bite of onions and garlic that clings to your nostrils. Your family gathers close. Your spouse unfolds the mat near the wall, smoothing it with careful palms, while the children huddle, eyes wide, tracing protective signs on their forearms with saliva-dampened fingers, a habit born of tales about sleep's devouring shadows. You catch their glances, quick and uneasy, as you ladle portions into bowls, the clay warm against your calloused skin, grounding you in the routine that shields against the night's perils. Rising, you move to the sleeping alcove, fetching the scarab amulet from its niche, its stone cool and smooth as you loop it around your neck. The weight settles against your chest, a talisman against the serpents set to coil in dream realms, waiting to strike the unwary sleeper. You arrange the headrest next, carved ebony unyielding under your touch, positioning it to cradle the neck just so. Too low, and the bomb might wander lost. Too high, and wakefulness flees into terror. Tension hums in the air. Outside, the wind whispers through the reeds, mimicking distant moans that stir old fears of Anubis's hounds, baying at the threshold of unconsciousness. You dim the lamp with a breath, oil's sharp residue lingering on your tongue, the flame shrinking to a hesitant glow that paints wavering shapes on the walls. Your spouse signals readiness with a subtle tilt of the head, and you all settle, bodies curling inward, breaths slowing to match the hearth's dying rhythm. The preparation complete, you lie there, pulse quickening despite the calm, the great unknown pressing in like an uninvited guest. In these whispers by the fire, you confront the mind's quiet rebellion, surrendering to rest, yet forever alert to the voids it conceals within us all. You sense the wood first, unyielding and cool against the nape of your neck, the headrest's carved curve digging in like a silent enforcer as you ease onto the mat. Night has deepened, the hut wrapped in a hush broken only by the distant croak of frogs along the canal, their calls a rhythmic undercurrent to the unease settling in your gut. The surface smells faintly of aged acacia, polished by generations of oils, a scent that stirs memories of warnings, lay flat, and the soul drifts untethered into the void where Netchery demons feast. You adjust your position, shoulders sinking into the woven reeds, but the headrest resists, forcing your head high, throat exposed to the chill draft, snaking through the doorway. A dull ache blooms already, muscles straining to hold the angle, your breath coming shallow as you trace the ritual marks on the wood with your fingertip. Eyes of Horus etched deep, meant to watch over the Ba's nocturnal journeys. Your kin nearby mirrors you, shifting restlessly, one hand clutching a linen-wrapped bundle, the other pressing palm to chest, in a gesture of inward fortification, their faces shadowed masks of quiet dread. You close your eyes, willing the body to yield, but the wood presses on, a constant prod reminding you of sleep's precarious bridge. Superstitions flood your mind. The head must rise above the heart's level, lest grave soil creep into dreams, burying the spirit alive. Lower it wrong, and Apep's coils tighten in the subconscious, twisting rest into strife. Tension knots your jaw. You swallow dryly, tasting the residue of the evening's bitter herbs meant to sharpen vigilance against phantom visitations, ghosts of the unrested who envy the living's return. Minutes stretch, the ache sharpening into a throb that radiates down your spine, sinking with the hut's subtle creaks as the night cools further. You force deeper breaths, surrendering inch by inch, the head rests truth embedding itself, discomfort as guardian, pain as price for safe passage through the veiled realms. Around you, breaths even out, bodies stilling into reluctant truce with the unknown. In this resignation, you touch the spirit's quiet core, where body rebels, but the soul learns to float free, unbound by flesh's complaints. You feel the woven mat give beneath your weight, reeds scratching lightly against your back like tiny barbs, insisting on wakefulness. Even as you seek surrender, the night air cools the floor's packed earth through the gaps, sending a subtle chill up your legs as you stretch out, limbs aligning in the prescribed form, arms at sides, feet pointed south toward the Duat's gate, a posture elders claim anchors the Ka against nocturnal drifts into peril. The scent of dried palm fibers rises faintly, musty and close, mingling with the night's broader hush where crickets pulse in erratic waves outside the walls. You settle deeper, the mats weave imprinting a grid on your skin. Each crossing read a reminder of the rigor that turns vulnerability into defense. Your body resists at first, hips shifting to find a hollow in the uneven surface, but you still them, forcing the spine straight as taut. Curve it wrong, and the serpentine forces of chaos slither closer in dreams, uncoiling to drag the unwary into abyssal forgetfulness. Nearby, your child curls nearby, knees drawn up in mimicry, small fingers clutching the mat's edge, while your spouse adjusts beside you, brow creasing in a silent negotiation with discomfort, their breath hitching once before evening out. Eyes tracing the low ceiling's beams in the lamp's dying flicker, you focus on the rhythm. Inhale to draw in the protective stars. Light. Exhale to banish the whispers of unrested shades that superstition warns lurk beneath the threshold. The chill deepens, seeping into joints long stiffened by day, but you embrace it, letting the mat's unyielding grid map your form like a ward against dissolution. Tension ebbs slowly, replaced by a heavy languor, the reedy scrape, fading as your muscles yield, pulse sinking with the earth's faint tremor from distant Nile flows. You turn your head fractionally, feeling the pull in your neck from the headrest's hold, the mat now a cradle enforcing the night's strict vigil. Rest comes not easy, but earned, in this lattice of discipline that blurs pain into purpose. Beneath it all, you realize the truth of our shared yielding. Rest as a deliberate act, where the body's rigor forges the mind's fleeting peace amid endless night. You hear the desert's breath first, a low, sibilant hiss weaving through the open flaps of your shelter, dry and insistent, carrying grains that dust your cheeks like fleeting touches from unseen watchers. Night has fallen fully over the Nile's edge, where the river's murmur joins in a steady, liquid undertow, lapping against papyrus banks, rhythmic yet edged with secrets that pull at the edges of your hearing. The air tastes arid, parched on your tongue, as you recline on the raised platform, linen sheet cool and taut across your form, designed to ensnare any errant shadows that might seek to claim the sleeper. You lie still, attuning to the symphony unfolding, wind rising in gusts that rattle the wind chimes of bone and shell, their clatter a ward against the Aku spirits, drifting from the west's barren reaches. The river counters with deeper notes, splashes marking a fish's leap, or crocodile's submerged slide, each sound amplifying the night's veiled orchestra, comfort or cunning lure. Your eyes adjust to the star-pierced dark, shadows lengthening across the ground, twisting into forms that mimic jackals or serpents, superstitions urging you to whisper invocations under your breath to bind them back. Tension threads through you as the chorus builds. A sudden hush falls, then the wind returns sharper, buffeting the shelter's side, forcing you to grip the platform's edge, knuckles whitening. Nearby, a villager from the encampment stirs on their own mat, sitting up briefly to scatter salt along the perimeter, a gleam of white in the gloom, their posture hunched, listening too, face turned toward the void, as if bargaining with the murmurs. You follow suit, scattering your own grains of incense ash, the fine powder gritty between fingers, releasing a faint, spicy haze that blends with the dry exhalations. The sounds swirl closer, rivers flow quickening in your veins, desert sigh pressing on your chest, lulling limbs heavier, while mind races against phantoms conjured by the interplay. You surrender to the rhythm, breaths matching the undulating cadence, shadows retreating to the periphery as sleep's threshold nears. In this symphony's embrace, you uncover the mind's fragile harmony, tuned to the world's whispers, where fear and awe conduct the soul's reluctant drift into the unknown. You hear the jackal's howl slice through the night, sharp and wavering, echoing from the shadowed dunes like a call from the underworld's fringes. It starts low, building to a yip that fades into silence, only for another to join from the river's bend, their chorus swelling in the cool, still air that brushes your exposed arms. The sound vibrates in your chest, pulling you from the edge of doze, heart quickening as you lie on the low pallet, the linen beneath you rumpled from earlier tosses. You sit up slowly, ears straining against the assault, now a series of barks, closer, mingling with the rustle of paws on sand outside the compound's low wall. Superstitions rise unbidden, jackals as heralds of Anubis, guardians of the dead who sniff out the vulnerable sleeper, drawing forgotten gods. Ire if the night's barriers falter. Your skin prickles with the chill, a faint metallic tang on your tongue from the fear-soured saliva you swallow. You reach for the obsidian knife beside the pallet, its edge cool and reassuring in your grip, fingers tracing the ritual engravings as you murmur the counterspell, voice barely above the howls. Around you, the camp responds in hushed waves. A neighbor bolts upright, clutching a rattle of dried seed pods, shaking it in sharp bursts to mimic thunder and repel the beasts. Another draws their child close, hand over the little one's mouth in instinctive hush, eyes scanning the dark for movement. The howls circle, dipping and rising, punctuated by the snap of twigs underfoot, each noise amplifying the vulnerability of your exposed form, limbs heavy yet alert, sleep's promise tainted by the gods, neglectful gaze. You stand then, moving to the doorway, knife raised, peering into the void where silhouettes shift, real or imagined guardians testing the rites. The chorus peaks in frenzy, then ebbs, leaving a ringing quiet that presses heavier, your breaths ragged as you retreat, scattering protective knots of garlic along the threshold, their pungent release cutting the air. Back on the pallet, the sounds linger in memory, vulnerability etching deeper, sleep now a fragile truce with the prowling night. In these howls, wake, you feel the body's raw edge, mind besieged by echoes, where fear sharpens the soul against oblivion's silent advance. You feel the velvet cloak descend, soft yet suffocating, wrapping around your senses as the last thread of wakefulness snaps, plunging you into the lightless void. No sound at first, just an expansive silence that presses inward, your limbs dissolving into weightless nothing, as if the body you knew has been stripped away, leaving only the ba adrift in the endless black. The air, or lack of it, tastes like forgotten incense, faint and echoing, a residue from the evening's wards that now seems distant, mocking. You push forward in this absence, not with steps but with will, navigating currents of unseen ether that tug at your essence. Whispers emerge unbidden, formless murmurs rising like bubbles from the depths, fragments of the duat's undercurrents, where lost souls call out, their pleas twisting into warnings against straying too far from the ritual path. Your heart, or what remains of its echo, races in the void. Superstitions flood the emptiness, tales of dreamers ensnared by the serpent Apep, their spirits unraveling into eternal wanderers if the amulet's protection wanes. Tension coils as shapes coalesce, shadowy figures brushing past, cool and intangible, perhaps guardian Netjeru testing your resolve, or rival Bass seeking to merge and confuse. You veer instinctively, reaching for the golden thread of Ra's light that the priests promised would guide true sleepers home, but it flickers, demanding focus amid the swirling disorientation. Nearby presences stir the void too. You sense kin souls nearby, their forms pulsing faintly, one contracting in fear, another extending a tentative tendril of shared vigilance, as if linking against the encroaching chaos. You press on, the cloak tightening then yielding, absence giving way to glimmers, star pricks of prophecy or peril that pull you deeper. The navigation demands surrender, yet sparks resistance, the mind charting the unchartable to reclaim dawn. In the void's quiet grip, you grasp the soul's solitary voyage, mind adrift in absence, where absence itself reveals the boundless reach of our inner worlds. You sense the stars first, not as lights, but as presences. Cool pinpricks, piercing the uninterrupted black, their silent vigil stretching infinite around you. In this profound expanse, no body weighs you down. You float, essence uncoiling like smoke from a quenched lamp, the void's velvety touch enveloping without pressure, a gentle insistence that draws you outward. A faint, cosmic chill settles on what feels like your core, tasting of distant ozone, as if the night's canopy has exhaled its secrets directly into your awareness. You drift toward the stellar sentinels, each one a beacon etched by Nut's hand, guardians against the formless threats that superstition claims swarm the dream realm's edges. Shadowy Amut devouring the weak-hearted, or rogue AKH pulling souls into their fractured eternities. The black holds you steady, uninterrupted, its beauty unfolding in layers. First the soothing uniformity, then the subtle pull of starlight threading paths, urging you to follow without fear, though nerves flicker at the vastness. Mind whispering of those lost in overreach, their bas, forever chasing illusions. Curiosity propels you. You extend toward a cluster, the motion effortless, stars swelling closer into radiant eyes that watch without judgment, their light weaving a net of protection. Nearby, other dreamers manifest as glowing outlines. Your siblings form pulses in reverence, tilting toward the same sentinel in silent communion, while a stranger's aura contracts briefly, hesitant, then aligns, joining the collective drift that fortifies against the void's deeper hungers. Tension hums as the black deepens momentarily, a ripple of darkness testing the weave, but the stars hold firm, their steady glow contrasting the fear's sharp edge, pulling you through to glimpses of verdant fields or riverine glides, omens veiled in beauty. You circle back, the sentinels shrinking to watchful points, the uninterrupted black cradling your return, awe blooming in the quiet profundity. The navigation eases, sleep's core revealing itself not as terror, but as this sacred expanse where vulnerabilities dissolve into cosmic order. Amid the stars, lone watch, you touch the human quietude, mind finding solace in the black's embrace, where beauty's depth mirrors our own unspoken vastness. You feel the prickle first. A sharp, stinging pinch on your ankle, like a hot needle thrust through the thin linen as you lie in the dim hut, the night's warmth turning clammy. Your eyes snap open to the flickering oil lamp's glow, heart slamming as you jerk your leg, the sensation lingering, venomous and insistent. In the low light, you spot it, the scorpion, small and armored, skittering across the mat's edge, its tail arched high, a shadow detached from the stars, visible through the roof's slits. Panic surges. You swat at it blindly, the creature vanishing into the reed weave, but the fear roots you, breath shallow against the hut's stuffy air that now reeks of sweat and dust. Superstitions whirl. Scorpions as Selkut's earthly spies, crawling from the desert to test the sleeper's wards, injecting not just poison, but visions of torment if the evening spells falter. Your skin crawls, every nerve alert, as you sit up, fingers probing the bite site, swelling already budding, a dull burn spreading up your calf. You scan the floor, shadows twisting into potential layers, and grab the nearby staff, tapping it against the ground to flush out siblings. Thump, pause, thump, the rhythm echoing your pulse. Nearby, your kin stirs too, one bolting to a crouch, sweeping with a broom in frantic arcs, face pale and drawn, while the other presses a hand to their thigh, mirroring your wince, eyes darting in shared alarm toward the door's gap, where more might slink in from the sands. The menace builds. You hobble to the hearth, crushing salt and herbs underfoot for a hasty barrier, the gritty mix grinding into your soul, releasing a sharp herbal tang that cuts the fear's fog. Sweat beads cold on your brow despite the burn's heat, body trembling as you chant the invocation low, invoking Selkut's mercy to turn the sting from omen to mere trial. The scorpion doesn't reappear, but vigilance grips tight, sleep shattered, the prickle a constant whisper against rest's fragile claim. In this crawling dread, you sense the body's fierce guard, fear as the mind's unyielding sentinel, piercing the veil of night to preserve the dawn's return. You grasp the amulet's chain, the faience beads cool and smooth sliding through your fingers like river pebbles, their weight a fragile anchor as you loop it over the sleeping platform's post. The hut's air thickens with the sharp, resinous bite of myrrh oil, slick on your palms from anointing the charm, the scent clinging as you move. A ritual perfume meant to repel the nocturnal harms that lurk beyond the veil. Serpents of Set slinking through dreams to sow discord, or restless ghosts clawing at the thresholds of rest. You position the scarab next, pressing its beetle form into the mat's center, the stone unyielding under your thumb, inscribed with spells to shield the Ka from dissolution. Anxiety gnaws at the edges, superstitions echo in your thoughts. The amulet must face east, toward dawn's rebirth, or the harms multiply, twisting sleep into a battlefield where the unprotected soul fragments like dry papyrus. Your hand trembles slightly as you adjust it, the oil's residue leaving a glossy trail that catches the lamp's flame, shadows leaping in response. Your family circles closer, drawn by the rite's gravity. One kneels to bury a smaller talisman beneath the reeds, fingers digging quick and deep, brow furrowed in concentration that masks deeper worry. The other traces protective loops around the hearth's edge with a knotted cord, eyes flicking to you in silent appeal, seeking reassurance amid the shared dread. You nod faintly, joining them, scattering powdered natron in a wide arc, the fine grains gritty against skin, releasing a salty dust that settles like a second skin, binding the space against invisible incursions. The preparations stretch, each charm a step in the dance of defiance, Eye of Horus dangling from the lintel, its blue glaze warding visions of peril, wedge-jot symbols etched on linen, folded under pillows to guard the head's portals. Tension coils tighter, the oils, aroma intensifying with your quickened breaths, mind racing through failures of the past, where charms proved too few, and the night exacted its toll in fevered wakes. As the last talisman settles, you step back, the array, a makeshift fortress, anxieties not quelled but contained, humming beneath the calm facade that invites sleep's approach. In these charms, fragile hold, you see the mind's enduring plea, reaching for symbols to armor the vulnerability within, where faith battles the dark's inexorable pull. You feel the chill of the temple floor seep into your bones, the polished limestone unyielding and icy beneath your thin linen shroud as you stretch out in the sacred chamber. Incense hangs heavy in the air, a thick veil of Kifya's sweet spice smoke that coats your throat with each breath, its warmth a stark contrast to the stone's bite. The space echoes faintly with your own rustles, distant chants from the outer halls fading into a profound quiet that amplifies the night's solemn weight. You arrange yourself as instructed, arms crossed in the pose of eternity, head on the low pillows stuffed with sacred herbs, their faint, earthy tang rising as you settle. Tension knots your muscles. This incubation demands total surrender, inviting the gods to whisper prophecies through dreams, but whispers carry peril, false visions from trickster spirits if the heart wavers. The chamber's walls loom close, carved with scenes of Imhotep's divine slumbers, their staring eyes seeming to follow your every shift, evoking awe laced with the fear of being unworthy, your soul probed for visions that could alter fates or unravel them. A priest glides by, bare feet silent on the stone, sprinkling natron dust in a wide circle around you, his robes whispering like secrets, face hooded in reverence that borders on detachment. Nearby supplicants mirror the ritual. One curls tighter against the cold, fingers clutching a votive scarab, knuckles white. Another lies rigid, gaze fixed on the ceiling star map, chest rising in shallow bursts, as if bracing for the divine intrusion. You close your eyes, the chill climbing your spine, forcing deep breaths to attune to the temple's pulse, the subtle drip of water from a hidden font, the air's growing density pressing you downward. Minutes elongate, the rigor of stillness birthing a trance-like haze. Sleep edges in, laced with anticipation, the floor's cold now a conduit for the unseen, channeling the gods, breath into your waiting mind. Visions tease at the threshold, flashes of floods or famines, pulling you toward the prophetic core, where revelation and ruin entwine. In this incubated chill, you encounter the soul's poised threshold, mind yielding to the cold's demand, where prophecy's gift exposes our fragile hunger for the divine unknown. You slip into the dream's current, a warm haze enveloping you like the Nile's midday flood. The temple's chill forgotten as divine light blooms around your form. Soft, golden rays that touch your skin without heat, tasting of honeyed milk on your tongue, sweet yet laced with the temple's lingering kaifi. No longer bound to the stone floor, you rise in this ethereal space. The gods, realm unfolding in vast halls of lapis and electrum, columns twisting upward into star-strewn vaults, where Amun-Ra's presence pulses like a distant heartbeat. You move forward, drawn by an unseen pull, the air humming with low vibrations that resonate in your chest, each step revealing fragments of communication, visions, flashing. A falcon-headed figure extends a scepter, its tip glowing as it traces symbols in the air, urging your spirit closer, eyes piercing with ancient knowing. Reverence swells, knees buckling instinctively as you kneel, hands pressing to the luminous ground that yields like sand yet holds firm, a sign of the gods, favor or judgment, tension knotting your gut at the ambiguity, prophecy of plenty or plague. Nearby, other incubated souls manifest, their forms translucent. One reaches toward a similar apparition, body arching in awe, face alight with tears that shimmer like dew. Another recoils slightly, arms shielding the head, caught in the fear of misinterpretation, where a twisted message could doom the village to unrest. You press on, the rays intensifying, wrapping you in a cocoon of symbols, floodwaters rising, crops bending heavy, then shadows encroaching if offerings slacken, the divine ritual demanding your full absorption, mind straining to etch each image into memory against the pull back to wakefulness. The communication peaks, the falcon's form leaning in, a wing brushing your shoulder with feather-light pressure that sends shivers through your essence, sealing the vision with a final pulse of light. Tension releases in waves, awe flooding the fear, as the dream's edges fray, drawing you toward the temple's returning chill. In these godly whispers, you feel the mind's profound bridge, vulnerable to the divine's vast script, where our fleeting dreams echo the eternal dialogue between mortal ache and celestial decree. You hear the priestly tongues first, a low, resonant murmur weaving through the temple's antechamber like threads of fate, their words layered in hieroglyphic cadence that vibrates against your eardrums. The air carries the cool, silken brush of a veil as one drapes it over your shoulders, its linen fine yet heavy with symbolic weight, chilled from the sacred oils it absorbed, sending a shiver down your spine. Dawn light filters dimly through slits in the stone, casting veils of shadow that dance across the papyri scrolls unfurled on the low altar. You kneel beside the interpreter, body still heavy from the night's prophetic slumber, recounting the soul's journey in fragmented whispers, the wanderings through starlit deserts, encounters with veiled figures bearing scales. The head priest leans in, his fingers tracing the veil's edges, lifting sections to reveal etched symbols, a balanced feather for truth, a coiled serpent for deception threatening the cause path. Tension coils in your chest. Misreading could doom the journey, binding the soul to endless cycles of unrest, superstitions warning that veiled truths hide the gods, wrath for the unprepared. Other seekers cluster nearby, their forms hunched in reverence. One extends a hand to touch the veil's hem, eyes widening in awe as the priest adjusts it, unveiling a scarab emblem that promises rebirth. Another averts their gaze, body rigid with fear, clutching a personal talisman as if to anchor against the interpretations, probing depth. You watch the priest's deliberate gestures, unfurling a scroll with measured pulls, his free hand gesturing arcs that mimic the soul's twists, the murmurs rising in volume, evoking a hush that amplifies the chamber's sacred pulse. The veil lifts fully now, symbols aligning in your vision, the journey's threads clarifying, trials of the heart, veils parted to expose guidance or peril. Awe swells amid the fear, the process a communal unveiling, where individual paths intersect in divine mystery, breaths syncing with the priest's, rhythmic intonations. In these symbolic revelations you sense the human enigma, mind veiled by its own shadows, yearning for the priest's tongues to pierce the soul's veiled wanderings toward elusive clarity. You feel the dream reader's hand settle on your forearm, warm and steady, the calluses from years of scrolling papyrus pressing into your skin like anchors amid the antechamber's swirling currents of emotion. The air hums with the faint scratch of stylus on clay tablet nearby, ink's sharp, acrid whiff rising as interpretations take form, mingling with the residual spice of morning offerings that clings to the walls. Dawn's light strengthens, slanting through colonnades to illuminate the reader's lined face, eyes sharp with the wisdom that sifts fates from fragile visions. You lean closer, pulse quickening as he unfolds your recounted journey. The soul's trials through shadowed gates, encounters with weighing scales tipping perilously. Fear grips you, a cold knot in your stomach, visions of crop failure or kin's loss flickering in your mind. Superstitions amplifying the dread that misguidance could seal an ill-omened path. Yet hope stirs too, warm against the chill, as the reader gestures deliberately, tracing arcs in the air that mimic the dream's turns. His nods slow and affirming, unveiling threads of resilience, a timely flood, a guardian's intervention if offerings align. Other petitioners encircle the space. Their presence is a tapestry of contrasts. One slumps forward, hands clutching knees, face etched with despair as the reader veils a darker symbol. Another straightens, eyes brightening, reaching to touch the tablet's edge in tentative gratitude, hope blooming in the subtle lift of shoulders. You mirror the tension, body shifting on the stone bench, the reader's wisdom guiding your gaze from fear's abyss to hope's faint horizon. Adjust the rites. He signals with a palm upturned, and the soul navigates true, averting the duat snares. The session draws out, emotions ebbing and flowing with each revelation, the chamber's hush broken only by breaths held in collective suspense, fates hanging on the reader's measured insights. As your turn concludes, relief washes through, mingled with lingering awe, at the power to steer ancient destinies. In this dance of dread and promise, you touch the core of our striving, minds clinging to readers, lights, where hope's fragile flame tempers fear, forging paths through the unknown's relentless tide. You touch the papyrus first, its surface rough and fibrous under your fingertips, like woven whispers from the reeds of the Nile, absorbing the ink's wet seep as you unroll it across the low worktable. The chamber's air hangs still, laced with the sharp, metallic tang of black ink mixed from soot and gum, a scent that sharpens your focus in the flicker of a single rush light, casting elongated shadows that mimic the dream figures you're about to capture. Night's hush presses in from the temple's outer walls, broken only by the soft scrape of your reed pen against the sheet. You dip the pen anew, the liquid cool and viscous on the tip, and begin tracing the first hieroglyph, a reed leaf for emergence from the subconscious, curved to represent the soul's ascent. Tension builds in your hand. These night scripts must align perfectly, lest the dream's truths twist into falsehoods. Superstitions claiming that malformed signs invite the netjeri to corrupt the record, turning prophecy into peril for the sleeper. Your breath steadies as you form the next, an owl for hidden knowledge, its eyes staring back from the page, evoking the night's veiled omens, floods hinted in wavy lines, betrayals in crossed spears that demand precise rendition to guide the waking world. A scribe nearby mirrors your labor, hunched over their own roll, stylus pausing mid-stroke to glance at your progress, brow creased in quiet scrutiny, then resuming with a subtle nod that conveys shared caution. Another figure, a supplicant fresh from slumber, leans in from the shadows, fingers hovering near the edge without touching, eyes wide with a mix of hope and dread as the glyphs take shape, unraveling their nocturnal journey from chaos to clarity. You press on, the papyrus yielding slightly under pressure, ink blooming in deliberate strokes, an ankh for eternal rest preserved, a serpent for dangers evaded, each mark a bridge between mind's fleeting visions and stone-etched fates. The deciphering unfolds slowly, curiosity pulling you deeper into the night's lexicon, contrasts sharpening, the smooth flow of benevolent symbols against jagged warnings of unrest. As the roll fills, a rhythm emerges in your movements, the lights dance syncing with the pen's glide, transforming raw dreams into sacred archive. In these hieroglyphs, intricate weave, you glimpse the mind's persistent craft, etching night's enigmas onto fragile leaves, where our inner voyages endure beyond the dawn's fleeting light. You unroll the ancient scroll, its edges frayed and heavy in your hands, the papyrus crackling softly like dry leaves underfoot, releasing a musty scent of aged resin and river silt that fills the dimly lit scriptorium. The weight presses down, not just physical but laden with lore. Universal symbols etched in faded ink, their forms timeless. The Ankh for life's eternal loop, the Jed pillar for stability amid chaos, each one a collective shield against the night's caprices. Your fingers trace the lines, calluses catching on the rough surface, as you seek the personal twist, the omen tailored to your slumber's whispers. You pore over a recent inscription, a water ripple, universal bearer of renewal or drowning, but here contorted by a dreamer's scorpion tail, hinting at betrayal's sting in your own kin circle. Tension rises in your throat. Dream lore demands balance, superstitions insisting that universal truths warp personally if ignored. Floods of fortune for the vigilant, submergence for the heedless sleeper whose rituals falter. You adjust the lamp's wick, flame steadying to throw sharper shadows across the symbols, illuminating a quail chick for vulnerability, its chicks scattering in your vision of fragmented family ties, the weight pulling at your resolve. A fellow interpreter nearby shifts their scroll, leaning forward with a furrowed gaze, hand pausing mid-note to rub the temple in quiet strain, eyes meeting yours in a flicker of shared burden, the lore's immensity crushing individual fates into patterns. Another, a villager summoned for counsel, hovers at the table's edge, fingers twitching toward the Ankh as hope wars with fear, body leaning in then recoiling, as if the symbols might bite with unforeseen curses. You continue, cross-referencing with a master codex, the pages turning with deliberate flips, contrasts emerging, a benevolent ibis for wisdom in one dreamer's flight, twisted into isolation's wail for another's solitary vigil. The deciphering builds rhythmically, symbols layering universal foundations with personal omens, the eye of Horus watching all, yet weeping for your overlooked sign of impending loss if the next rite isn't mended. Curiosity drives you deeper, the scroll's weight a reminder of dreams as fates forge, all mingling with the fear of misstep in this sacred translation. In the lore's unyielding press, you feel the soul's intimate gravity, minds burdened by symbols, span, where universal echoes shape our personal nights into enduring threads of destiny. You hear the whispers first, faint and insistent, like wind through cracked tombstones, brushing your ears as sleep pulls you under the reed canopy of your bed. The air turns thick, carrying the dry, musty scent of sand-scoured limestone from distant halls of the dead, a taste of dust on your tongue that lingers, evoking the afterlife's parched embrace. Your body sinks deeper into the mat, but your ba rises, uncoiling into a luminous thread that slips through the veil, drawn toward portals flickering like distant torchlight in the endless dusk. You glide forward, the whispers growing clearer, murmurs of names long etched in stone, ancestors calling from the field of reeds, their voices layered with warnings against forgotten offerings that might sever the living from the blessed dead. Tension prickles along your essence. Superstition holds that these dreams are true gates, where unheeded whispers let the restless Aku drag the sleeper into eternal wandering, souls unbound and adrift. The portal widens, revealing glimmers of verdant eternity, golden wheat swaying under an unchanging sun, but shadowed by jackal guardians whose eyes glow with judgment, testing your lineage's worth. You approach a cluster of forms, ethereal outlines of forebears, one extending a translucent hand and beckoning, face softened by eons yet sharp with unspoken counsel. Another hovers distant, posture rigid, arms crossed as if withholding secrets to provoke vigilance in the living. You reach out, the touch cool and fleeting, like mist on stone, pulling fragments of lore, a river's overflow promised if rites honor the past, or drought's curse for neglect. Curiosity surges amid the awe. your ba twisting to follow their gestures, pointing to symbols in the air, lotus blooms for rebirth, serpents for unresolved grudges that coil back to haunt night after night. The portal hums with rhythm, whispers rising in crescendo then fading, ancestors receding as dawn tugs at the edges, leaving echoes that vibrate in your core. Fear and reverence entwine. The dream a bridge where the dead's pleas forge the living's path, fragile against time's erosion. In these ancestral calls, you sense the enduring chain, minds linked across the divide, where dreams whisper of legacies that bind us, body to dust, spirit to the unyielding flow of ages. You feel Osiris's embrace settle around you, a vast, enveloping coolness like the Nile's depths and flood, wrapping your ba in verdant folds of papyrus and lotus that brush your form without weight. The dream pulls you into the underworld's heart, where the air hums with the low rush of eternal waters lapping at unseen shores, carrying a faint, fertile earthiness that tastes of rich silt on your tongue, promising rebirth yet whispering permanence. No body anchors you now. You drift in this green-lit expanse, the god's verdant skin enveloping like a shroud-turned sanctuary, arms of reed and vine cradling your essence in rhythmic sway. You surrender deeper, the comfort blooming, a serene unity where pains of the living fade, replaced by the steady pulse of the afterlife's core, Osiris's mended form radiating quiet assurance, his eyes half-lidded in judgment that feels less like trial and more like invitation to endless harmony. Superstitions surface in the flow, eternal sleep as the ultimate rite, where the worthy merge with the divine, but stray too far, and the embrace tightens to terror, vines coiling into bonds that sever ties to dawn, trapping the Ka in undying vigil over the Duat's shadowed fields. Tension rises as shapes emerge nearby, other dreamers, souls, translucent and adrift, one leaning into the god's hold with arms outstretched in blissful release, face smoothed by peace. Another thrashes faintly, pulling against the enveloping fronds, body arching in raw fear, eyes wide as if glimpsing the point of no return. Eyes wide, as if glimpsing the point of no return. You reach toward Osiris's form, fingers, ethereal now, trailing through his regenerative flesh, feeling the pull both soothing and insistent. The waters rush quickening to drown out the living world's echoes, curiosity warring with dread. Is this comfort the threshold to immortality, or terror's velvet trap for the unprepared? The embrace pulses stronger, comfort yielding to subtle constriction, the god's presence a dual force, nurturing the renewed, devouring the flawed, drawing you toward a central throne of woven eternity, where lights of the justified flicker like distant stars. Awe mingles with the chill, the sway building to a crescendo that blurs comfort's edge into fear's sharp brink. In Osiris's shadowed hold, you confront the human divide, body fleeing the mortal coil, mind teetering between solace's pull and the terror of sleep's unending depth, where eternal rest reveals our deepest yearnings for both release and recall. You feel the simple mat cradle your small frame, its woven reeds prickling softly against your back like a mother's hesitant fingers, the fibers still warm from the day's sun, but cooling now under the night's subtle draft. In the hut's dim corner, your tiny breaths rise and fall in shallow puffs, each one a fragile thread pulling at the air, carrying the faint, sweet, milky scent from your evening meal that lingers on your lips. The world beyond the mat stretches vast and uncertain, shadows pooling in the corners where superstitions say child spirits hide, waiting to snatch the unwary young into their playful yet perilous games. You curl tighter, knees drawn to chest, the linen wraps slipping slightly to expose your arm to the chill, a shiver running through your limbs as you peer into the gloom. Mother kneels nearby, her hand hovering above you, smoothing the mat's edge with deliberate strokes, eyes scanning the dark with a mix of tenderness and vigilance. Superstitions demand she trace protective circles around your form, warding off the night demons that favor the pure-hearted, their whispers said to lure children into dreams of endless wandering if the barriers weaken. Father stirs across the space, adding a pod of sacred beans to the threshold, his movements slow and reassuring, face etched with quiet resolve that eases your racing pulse just a fraction. Tension coils in your chest. The mat's simplicity offers no fortress against the night's pull. Every creak of the hut's beams, a footstep of unseen foes. Every gust through the reeds, a breath from the duat, tempting your fragile sleep toward forgotten realms. You clutch a small amulet fashioned from clay, its rough edges digging into your palm, a childish talisman against the terrors elders describe. Ba souls jealous of the living young, slipping into slumbers to steal vitality. Curiosity flickers amid the fear, your gaze drifting to the reed ceiling where stars peek through gaps, promising adventures in sleep that might bridge to ancestors or reveal hidden strengths, yet the contrast sharpens the vulnerability, comfort in parental shadows warring with the awe of what lurks just beyond. Breaths steady gradually, the mat's embrace deepening as exhaustion wins, tiny rhythms syncing with the hut's subtle sighs, sleep's portal opening in innocence's guarded hush. In these fragile nights, you touch the dawn of awareness, body small against the infinite dark, mind weaving early threads of wonder and dread, where childhood's sleep etches the first marks of our lifelong dance with the unseen. You nestle into the mat's curve, the coarse linen blanket scratching lightly against your cheek as Mother draws it up to your chin, her fingers lingering in a protective sweep. The hut's air warms with the oil lamp's flicker, its smoky tang of sesame seed sharp in your nostrils, cutting through the night's cooling hush. Father's shadow looms steady by the wall, arms crossed, while your sibling shifts closer, knees bumping yours in shared anticipation. The simple act of gathering, pulling the family's fragile circle, tight against the outer dark. Mother begins, her hands weaving the air like threads of fate, palms opening wide to summon the myths, then curling into claws for the monsters that prowl old Egypt's tales. You watch, breath held, as she traces the Sphinx's riddle-bound form, its lion body and eagle wings casting imagined shadows across the reed walls, a guardian or devourer depending on the sleeper's worth. Tension coils in your belly. These bedtime weaves aren't mere fancies. Superstitions bind them tonight, where Amit's jaws wait in dreams for the unvirtuous child, devouring hearts if stories go untold, luring the Ba into monstrous lairs of endless chase. Her gestures quicken, fingers snapping like set storm winds to evoke the chaos serpent Apep, coiling in the duat to swallow the sun, a peril that mirrors the night's swallow of light. Your sibling tenses, small hand gripping your arm, eyes round and fixed on the lamp's dance, while Father nods subtly, his look a silent reinforcement of the lore's truth. Myths as shields, monsters as warnings to keep rituals sharp against nocturnal slips. Contrast sharpens the awe, Horus's falcon eye piercing the gloom, avenging the slain, promising justice for the bold young soul who faces fears in slumber. The stories build in rhythm, Mother's voice dropping low for the terror of demons skulking at thresholds, then rising with Isis's healing spells that bind the family anew. Curiosity tugs at you amid the fear, mind racing to picture the underworld's gates cracking open in your own dreams, the hut's confines blurring into epic realms where monsters test and myths empower. As the tale fades, Mother tucks the blanket firmer, her hand brushing your forehead in final ward, the lamp dimming to embers that mirror sleep's approach, myths lingering, like guardians in the quiet. In these woven nights, you sense the spark of our making, minds molded by monsters, shadows, where stories, awe and dread forge the resilient heart against the vast, uncharted sleep. You settle beneath the sacred canopy, its embroidered linen heavy and cool against your skin, threads of gold and lapis weighing like the realm's expectations as it drapes low over the ebony bed frame. The chamber's air thickens with the heady smoke of sacred incense, frankincense and myrrh curling in lazy spirals from braziers, their resinous bite sharp on your tongue, a ritual veil to summon protective Netcheru and repel the kingdom's foes from your slumbering form. Distant footsteps echo in measured cadence, the royal guard's armored presence a constant hum beyond the veils, their shadows shifting like silent sentinels against the painted walls. You ease onto the plush cushions stuffed with fine linen and aromatic herbs, the bed's unyielding supports pressing subtly through the layers, a reminder of the throne's rigid demands even in rest. Priests circle the dais, one dipping fingers into a vessel of scented oil, anointing your brow with deliberate strokes that leave a slick, cooling trail, eyes lowered in reverence laced with the fear of faltering. Superstitions whisper that a pharaoh's ill dream unravels the two lands, inviting chaos if the canopy's spells weaken, letting Set's storms or Apep's coils infiltrate the royal ka. Your chest tightens under the burden. Sleep here is no refuge but a battlefield. Visions bearing the weight of Nile floods or enemy advances, each breath a measured offering to Ma'at's balance. Guards stand rigid at the corners, spears glinting in the torchlight, one adjusting stance with a faint clink of bronze, gaze flicking toward you in vigilant deference, while a priest scatters natron grains across the floor in widening arcs, the fine powder gritty underfoot if you shift. Tension builds in the hush, contrasts sharpening, the canopy's opulent shelter against the night's probing chill seeping through high windows, curiosity stirring at what divine communions might unfold, ancestral councils or warning portents that could reshape dynasties. You close your eyes, the incense deepening the trance, canopy enclosing like a tomb's prelude, rhythms of heart and guard sinking in the chamber's solemn pulse, royal sleep descending as both crown and curse. In this kingly vigil you grasp the paradox of power, body enthroned yet exposed, mind burdened by dreams, imperial scope, where night's solitude unveils the ruler's most human frailty amid eternal legacies. You slip into the divine dream's flow, a luminous haze parting like the morning mist on the Nile, enveloping you in the chamber's profound silence, broken only by the faint, rhythmic drip of incense from the hanging braziers. The air tastes of sacred lotus, sweet and elusive on your tongue, a remnant of the anointed petals placed at your bedside to invite the gods' favor, their petals now wilting slightly against the cool stone. No guards intrude here. The private night strips away the pomp, leaving your form alone on the vast bed, silk sheets sliding cool across your skin as your mind unravels into visions of celestial courts, where Thoth's ibis head nods approval over scrolls of cosmic order. You drift through halls of eternal light. The gods touch a warm current pulling you toward oracles, floods swelling in promise, enemies scattering like chaff before Ra's chariot, each revelation a balm that soothes the day's decrees. Yet earthly worries weave in unbidden, shadows creeping at the edges, granaries overflowing in the dream, but famine's specter from drought-ravaged reports nags, superstitions amplifying the fear that a monarch's doubt invites divine rebuke, dreams turning prophetic thorns to pierce the unprepared ruler's ka. Tension knots your ethereal form. You reach for a glowing ankh, its metal firm in your grasp, symbol of life's loop, but it twists subtly, reflecting the kingdom's fragile threads, rebellious viziers, border skirmishes that demand your unerring, wakeful hand. In the dream's privacy, attendants, presences fade to memory. One's earlier gesture of adjusting the canopy lingers, a bowed head in the threshold's glow, conveying unspoken loyalty that contrasts the isolation now. Another silent retreat leaves the chamber echoing with your solo breaths, quickening as worries surge, pulling divine splendor into mortal strain. Curiosity drives you deeper, the light pulsing in rhythm with your heart, visions clarifying omens of prosperity if rituals hold, or ruin if earthly lapses betray the gods. Trust. The flow quickens, contrasting heaven's vast assurance with ground's gritty perils, sleep's private core a forge where royal divinity clashes with human frailty. As the dream ebbs, the chamber's chill returns, grounding you in the bed's embrace, divine echoes fading against waking burdens. In this monarch's solitude, you uncover the ruler's quiet fracture, mind soaring through godly realms, yet tethered by earthly chains. where dreams expose the shared weight of command in our timeless pursuit of balance. You slump onto the mat, the day's exhaustion crashing over you like the Nile's swell after harvest, your muscles throbbing with a deep, insistent ache that radiates from shoulders to soles, dirt-caked skin cracking as you shift. The hut smells of sun-baked earth and lingering sweat, sharp and grounding, mixed with the faint, herbal bite of bedtime herbs your spouse scatters nearby, rue and garlic, to fend off the night's prowling shades that superstitions claim hunger for weary laborers, slipping into fatigued dreams to steal strength for their own unrest. Your limbs feel heavy, leaden, the simple act of unlacing your sandals pulling a groan from your chest, but the release beckons, sweet in its inevitability. You stretch out, the mat's reeds yielding slightly under your weight, cool against fevered back, while the evening's chill seeps through the walls, prickling your arms into goose flesh. Tension lingers from the fields, back bent over the hoe, sun scourging unrelentingly. But here, in the dim lamp's glow, it uncoils, breaths deepening as you trace the ritual outline on your forehead with ash-dusted finger, a hasty ward against the laborer's peril, dreams twisted by overwork into visions of endless toil under Pharaoh's unrelenting gaze. Your spouse kneels close, arranging a linen cover with gentle folds, eyes meeting yours in quiet solidarity, brow furrowed from their own day's toll, while a fellow worker across the space, visiting to share the evening meal, settles similarly, rubbing weary neck, shared fatigue etching lines of resilience in the firelight's flicker. Curiosity stirs faintly amid the drag. What release will exhaustion grant tonight? Blissful void, or haunted fields where overseers' whips echo in the dark? The contrast sharpens, day's brutal grind fading into night's merciful hush, the hut's subtle creaks syncing with your slowing pulse, body surrendering inch by inch. You close your eyes, the ache transforming from torment to companion, pulling you toward sleep's embrace. Rituals, a thin veil over the body's raw need for reprieve. In exhaustion's quiet hold, you feel the laborer's truth, body worn to the edge, mind yielding to rest's raw gift, where hard-won days carve the soul's patient endurance against time's unceasing demand. You clasp your scarred hands together, the calluses rough and thickened like river-worn stone, interlocking with a familiar grit that grounds you as you recline on the communal mat in the workers' quarter. The night air cools the hut's earthen floor, seeping up through the reeds to chill your palms despite the day's residual warmth, while the scent of cooling barley bread lingers faintly, mingled with the chalky dust from funeral preparations that clings to your skin. Silence settles among you all, a shared hush broken only by the soft sync of breaths, yours and your companions, rising like a collective ward against the night's subtle threats. You extend your limbs alongside the others, the mat stretching wide enough for the group, its weave imprinting faint patterns on your forearms as you adjust. One worker nearby traces a protective loop on the ground with a fingertip, scarred knuckles flexing in the lamp's dim circle, face shadowed but calm, eyes closing in mutual release from the quarry's grind. Another shifts closer, shoulder brushing yours in unspoken camaraderie, their hands, mirrors of yours, etched with chisel marks, resting palm up in ritual surrender, superstitions guiding the pose to align the cause flow, repelling the jealous shades that prey on solitary sleepers, drawing them into shared strength against dream thieves who feast on isolated fatigue. Tension eases in the quiet, the silence a balm that contrasts the day's clamor, hammers ringing, overseers, calls fading into memory. But curiosity whispers at the edges. What respite will this bond yield tonight? Visions of plentiful yields or warnings of cave-ins veiled in communal dreams? You watch the flame flicker, casting elongated shadows that the group ignores, breaths deepening in unison, the scarred hands a testament to endurance now folded in respite. Your spouse joins from the edge, adding a sprig of protective myrtle to the mat's center, fingers intertwining briefly with yours, the touch steady and reassuring amid the hush. The shared silence deepens, rhythms aligning, pulses slowing, the night's chill yielding to the warmth of bodies close, Simple respite weaving a fragile net against the unknown, where labor's marks become anchors in the dark. In this collective quiet, you sense the bonds of toil, bodies marked by scars, silent stories, minds finding solace in shared hush, where respite reveals the quiet power of unity against night's isolating pull. You feel the armor's weight dragging at your shoulders, the bronze plates cool and unyielding against sweat-dampened linen as you lower yourself to the camp mat, joints protesting from the march's endless miles. Night cloaks the outpost, the air thick with the acrid tang of smoldering campfires and oiled leather, punctuated by the distant low of a watch horn that rumbles in your chest like a warning from the duat. Your spear leans nearby, its shadow long and jagged in the fire's dying glow, a silent sentinel that mocks the fragile barrier of sleep, superstitions urging you to prop it tip first toward the stars, lest battle shades rise and claim the unwary warrior's ka in vengeful dreams. You shift the straps loose, the metal clinking softly, freeing your arms but leaving indents like fresh wounds on your skin, the chill of evening seeping through to bite at exposed flesh. Comrades huddle in the circle, one rubbing oil into a shield's edge with methodical strokes, face drawn in the firelight's flicker, eyes scanning the perimeter as if the night's hush hides enemy scouts or restless ghosts of the fallen, their forms said to slink into soldiers, slumbers, reenacting charges to drag the living into eternal fray. Another unrolls a small talisman bundle, fingers trembling slightly from fatigue, scattering grains in a hasty arc around his spot, a ward against omen dreams where lost spears foretell defeat if not honored with vigilant rest. Tension hums in the air, your breath quickening despite the exhaustion. Day's clashes echo in muscles, but night's broken promise looms. Rituals a thin line between respite and revelation, curiosity flickering at what broken visions might bring. Glory's charge or the terror of comrades, screams twisting into your own. You grip the spear's shaft briefly, its wood warm from your hand, grounding against the contrast. The camp's rough comfort versus the battlefield's raw edge, fires crackling to life with a fresh log tossed on by a silent figure, sparks rising like fleeting souls. Sleep pulls unevenly, eyelids heavy yet snapping open at every rustle. The armor's shadow a constant reminder of duty's interruption, rest fractured by the soldier's unyielding watch. In this armored vigil, you touch the warrior's rift, body armored yet weary, mind fractured between battle's echo and night's deceptive peace, where broken rest forges the unyielding will to greet each dawn unbroken. You taste the dust first, gritty and metallic on your tongue from the day's trampled earth, lingering as you sink into the camp's thin pallet. The coarse wool blanket, rough against your neck. Night's chill creeps through the outpost's loose tents, cooling the sweat still beating on your forehead, while distant drums echo faintly, like the heartbeat of approaching foes or your own ka's restless thrum, blending with the soft snores of your squad to form the war's uneasy lullaby. You close your eyes, the spear's shadow a constant outline in your mind's edge, and sleep fractures open. Home rushes in, the Nile's gentle lap at your village dock. Warm bread's yeasty scent pulling you to a mat by mother's hearth, where siblings cluster in harmless play, laughter a shield against the world's grind. Comfort swells, body loosening in the dream's false ease, superstitions fading to whispers, rituals of salt circles around the pallet meant to anchor the ba, lest war's echoes twist the sleeper's soul into a wandering shade, forever lost between fields of reed and bloodied sands. Yet battle intrudes, relentless. Home's dock warps into the river's crimson churn, comrades' faces morphing into fallen foes, spears thrusting not in harvest but in frenzy, the drum's rhythm quickening to war cries that jolt your ethereal form. Tension spikes as you twist in the dream, reaching for a child's hand that morphs into a shield's edge, the contrast sharpening, domestic peace shattering against combat's roar, curiosity gnawing at the blend. Is this omen of survival, returning to kin unbroken, or foretelling a final charge where home's vision dissolves in the fray. Nearby, a comrade stirs on his mat, arm flailing as if parrying blows, face contorted in silent strife, sweat glistening in the fire's low light. Another lies still, hand clutching a home-woven talisman, breath steady, as if anchoring against the same invasion. You push through the haze, the dreams pull ebbing toward dawn, echoes of laughter clashing with clashes, sleep's edge a knife between solace and slaughter. As fragments fade, the camp's chill returns, grounding you in the palate's discomfort, heart pounding from the night's divided realm. In war's shadowed doze, you sense the soldier's divided core, body caught on survival's brink, mind torn between hearth's call and battle's scar, where dreams on the edge reveal our unyielding tie to both peace and peril. You step into the steam-shrouded sanctuary, the warm mist curling around your ankles like a living shroud, carrying the sharp, therapeutic bite of natron and lotus oils that stings your nostrils and leaves a mineral tang on your lips. The temple bath's waters lap gently at the tiled edges, their surface rippling from a hidden spring, and you ease your body into the pool, the heat enveloping your skin in a slow, insistent pressure that soothes the day's knots, but draws a subtle ache from deeper muscles, as if coaxing out the body's hidden burdens. Stone benches line the walls, slick with condensation, and the air hums with the low drip of water echoing off vaulted ceilings painted with healing deities. Imhotep's steady gaze watching from above, evoking reverence for this sacred drowsiness meant to purify the Ka before night's rituals. You submerge to your shoulders, the warmth seeping into joints, eyelids growing heavy as the oils. Vapors rise, mingling with the faint, earthy scent of sacred mud packs applied by attending priests. One glides past, robe hiked to knees, ladling infused water over your head in measured pours, the liquid cascading cool then hot, rivulets tracing your spine. His face remains impassive, hands steady in the rite that wards against sleep's insidious foes. Superstitions warning that unclean flesh invites the netjury to twist therapeutic haze into fevered hallucinations, where the unwary Ba drowns in visions of unrelenting thirst. Tension simmers beneath the relaxation. The sanctuary's sanctuary feels tenuous, vulnerability sharp in the steam's embrace, curiosity pulling at what drowsy revelations might surface, cleansed omens of health or shadowed warnings if the water's purity lapses. Fellow supplicants occupy nearby alcoves, one leaning back against the tile with eyes half closed, fingers trailing the water's surface in rhythmic circles, breath syncing with the drip to invite the therapeutic pull. Another submerges fully, emerging with a gasp, water sheeting off skin marked by old scars, gaze distant as if deciphering the steam's fleeting shapes. You follow the motion, sinking lower, the heat building a languid fog in your mind, contrasts blooming, the pool's nurturing hold against the night's looming chill seeping from unlit corridors, drowsiness descending like a merciful veil, rituals blending bath solace with sleep's sacred threshold. As the steam thickens, your breath slow, the sanctuary cradling you toward that edged repose, body yielding to the waters, ancient promise of renewal. In this drowsy haven, you encounter the body's quiet surrender, mind softened by steam's grace, where therapeutic release unmasks our innate thirst for healing amid the eternal tug of wakefulness and rest. You emerge from the bath's haze into the antechamber's softer glow. The lingering oils slick on your skin, their herbal essence, a blend of mandrake and honey, clinging like a second veil, sweet yet medicinal on your tongue as you settle onto the ritual couch. The air cools gradually, linen sheets cool and crisp against your damp form, drawing a subtle shiver that eases into therapeutic warmth, the temple's chants fading to a distant hum that vibrates through the stone floor. Eyes heavy from the waters, inducement you surrender, sleep weaving in as the body's ailments surface, the chronic ache in your joints, the soul's quiet unrest from unhealed wounds, now poised for the dream's medicinal touch. You drift into visions of wholeness, the dream unfolding as a luminous river of light, where your form reconstitutes, limbs straightening without pain, scars fading like mist under Sekhmet's healing gaze, her lioness head nodding in approval as golden lotuses bloom from your palms, restoring vitality to flesh weary from toil. The air in this realm tastes of fresh reeds and spring flood, invigorating your breaths, each inhale pulling wholeness deeper, superstitions affirming the right, dreams as the gods, pharmacy, mending the cause fractures if the bath's purity holds, but twisting into fever if doubts linger, summoning demons to reopen old rifts in body and spirit. Awe swells as you move freely, the river carrying you past shadowed banks where unresolved ills lurk, tension coiling at their proximity. Will the vision seal your renewal, or unravel into echoes of affliction? Nearby in the dream's flow, other seekers appear, translucent and seeking. One extends arms skyward, body arching in ecstatic relief as a ethereal healer presses herbs to their side, face alight with wonder. Another hesitates at the water's edge, hand clutching a bandaged wound, eyes wide with fear of the river's deceptive calm, pulling back as if sensing the contrast between promise and peril. You press forward, curiosity guiding your essence through currents that knit soul to flesh, visions clarifying, a bountiful harvest for the healed laborer, inner peace for the grief-stricken heart, rhythms building from the temple's hum to a harmonious pulse, the couch's support now a distant anchor. The wholeness deepens, fears yielding to reverence, dreams prescribing the soul's quiet medicine amid the night's sacred hush. In these visionary streams, you grasp the healing's profound rhythm, body and mind entwined in renewal's flow, where sleep's gift uncovers our resilient core, vulnerable yet forever reaching for wholeness against the shadows of frailty. You sense the shadows creeping first, a subtle chill slithering across the hut's floor, like unseen fingers testing the barriers, brushing the edge of your mat with an icy whisper that raises the hairs on your arms. The night deepens beyond the reed walls, the air thick with the faint acrid residue of evening incense now fading, leaving a bitter aftertaste of fear on your tongue as you lie rigid, breaths shallow to avoid drawing attention. Superstitions pulse in the quiet, night demons, Netjury with jagged forms and insatiable hungers, slither through cracks if the wards slacken, seeking to possess the sleeper's ka, twisting rest into a struggle where the body wakes marked by unseen claws. You shift carefully, the mat's reeds scratching your back, and reach for the amulet at your side, its stone warm from your earlier grip, fingers tracing its etched wards, a falcon's eye to pierce the gloom, a scarab to roll back the darkness. As you murmur the invocation low, the words, a fragile net against the encroaching dread. The shadows seem to lengthen, pooling in corners where the lamp's flame gutters, casting erratic shapes that mimic clawed limbs stretching toward you. Tension coils in your gut. Elders, tales warn of these creeps as harbingers, demons born from the duat's fringes, preying on the vigilant hour when sleep beckons weakest, their touch bringing fevered visions of pursuit, unless countered swiftly. Your spouse stirs beside you, hand extending to sprinkle more salt along the mat's border, granules gritty under your skin as they scatter, eyes wide and scanning the dark with a shared vigilance that mirrors your own pulse-quick fear. A child across the space curls tighter, small fingers clutching a linen doll etched with protective signs, face half hidden but alert, the family's collective hush amplifying the night's menace. You press the amulet to your chest, its pressure grounding, curiosity flickering amid the awe. Do the shadows truly stir with life, or is fear the true demon, weaving illusions from the mind's shadowed corners? Contrast sharpens, the hut's familiar confines against the unknown's vast press, rituals building a rhythm, salts rustle, breaths sinking, incantations, soft cadence, to push back the creep, sleep hovering as both peril and prize. The shadows retreat incrementally, the chill easing, But vigilance holds, the night a living trial where demons, fear, tests the soul's resolve. In these creeping vigils, you touch the primal dread, body braced in the dark's clutch, mind wrestling shadows born of ancient whispers, where fear's awe reveals our enduring stand against the night's unyielding unknown. You inhale the chalk's dry, powdery scent first, sharp and grounding as you grind it finer between your fingers, the residue dusting your palms like a shield of dust against the unseen horrors lurking beyond the hut's walls. The night presses close, the air humming with a low, unnatural rustle, like claws scraping at the threshold, and you kneel by the mat, reed stylus in hand, its cool wooden grip steadying your trembling as you etch the first sigil into the soft earth floor, an eye of Horus, unblinking ward to blind the demon's gaze. You trace the lines deliberately, the stylus scraping with a gritty rhythm that echoes your heartbeat, each curve a spell's invocation to bind the Netjeri back to the Duat, their formless hungers repelled by symbols that glow faintly in the lamp's haze. Tension knots your shoulders, superstitions flood the silence. These sigils must form true, or the horrors slip through, possessing dreams with visions of dismemberment, the sleeper's K shredded unless the rites hold firm. You add the act next, crossing it with protection's knot, the chalk flaking under pressure, leaving your fingertips numb from the cold seeping up from the ground. Your kin gathers near, one scattering blessed natron in widening circles, granules crunching underfoot, their movements mirroring yours, elbows tight to sides, eyes darting to the shadows with a mix of reverence and dread, faces etched by the flame's orange cast. Another holds a bundle of knotted cords, fingers weaving tighter in rhythmic pulls. The cords, twist meant to snare wandering spirits, their shared focus a communal bulwark against the night's probing chill. You murmur the spell's cadence low, words rolling like river stones, binding phrases to empower the sigils, curiosity flickering amid the fear. Will these marks summon the gods, light, or provoke the horrors to test their edges, twisting sleep into a besieged realm? The sigils complete, you step back, the floor now a web of etched defenses, the rustle's intensity ebbing to a distant whisper, contrast blooming, the hut's warm hearth against the outer void's grasp, rituals forging a fragile peace where body and will resist the dark. You settle onto the mat, the sigils, proximity a tangible armor, breaths syncing with the groups in final invocation, warding's rhythm lulling toward uneasy rest. In these etched barriers, you feel the soul's defiant craft, mind etching light against horror's tide, where spells, quiet power unveils our ancient resilience, body and spirit entwined in night's eternal ward. You light the frankincense first, its resinous granules igniting with a soft hiss on the charcoal, releasing a thick, balsamic smoke that fills the chamber with a heavy, sacred warmth, wrapping around your face like an invisible veil. The lotus flowers follow, petals crushed gently between your fingers, their delicate, watery sweetness blooming in the air, clean and floral, cutting through the smoke's depth as you scatter them across the bed's linen sheets. The scents mingle, creating a pathway that draws your breaths deeper, your body easing onto the mat, the fabrics now infused, brushing your skin with a subtle, cooling silkiness that hints at the night's unfolding mysteries. You arrange the censer closer, the smoke curling in lazy spirals toward the ceiling's reed weave, its tendrils seeming to trace protective arcs, a ritual to lure benevolent spirits and repel the night's lurking foes. Superstitions holding that unfragrant slumbers invite the unpurified Ba to wander into treacherous realms, where dreams sour into omens of loss without the sense, guiding hand. Tension lingers from the day's toils, your muscles uncoiling slowly as the frankincense's richness settles in your lungs, a grounding weight that contrasts the lotus's lightness, lifting faint worries like mist before dawn. Your fingers trail the petals, their softness a fleeting comfort, curiosity stirring. Will these pathways lead to visions of fruitful Nile banks or shadowed warnings veiled in floral haze? Spouse moves nearby, adding more granules to the censer with precise pinches, the smoke thickening as their wrist flicks, eyes meeting yours in quiet assurance, brows relaxed in the rite's rhythm. A servant dims the lamp further, shadows softening the walls. Painted guardians, their hand pausing to inhale deeply, face tilting as if savoring the blend's promise of safe passage. You inhale again, the scents syncing with your pulse, frankincense anchoring the earthbound fears, lotus opening the ethereal door, body sinking heavier into the mat, limbs growing languid, the air's fragrant current pulling you toward sleep's threshold, where rituals weave sensation into sanctuary. The pathways deepen, breaths evening out amid the curling vapors, the hut transforming into a scented cocoon that cradles your descent, awe blooming in the sense, reverent hold against the unknown. In these aromatic trails, you sense the night's gentle pull, body eased by earth's gifts, mind navigating scented veils, where such simple paths echo our quiet yearning for repose, amid the endless cycle of light and shadow. You crush the valerian root between your palms, its earthy, musky aroma bursting forth, bitter and grounding, like damp soil after rain, releasing oils that coat your skin with a sticky, cooling residue, drawing your breaths deeper as you scatter the fragments across the mat. The hut's air thickens with the herb's whisper, mingling with mandrake's subtle sweetness from the bundle nearby, the scents weaving a chemistry that tugs at your nerves, easing the day's frayed edges while sharpening the night's mysteries. Your fingers, stained faintly green, trace patterns in the herbs, arranging them in ritual lines, stems aligned toward the headrest, leaves fanned for the cause calm passage, superstitions dictating this blend to soothe the soul's unrest, lest uncalmed slumbers summon fevered shades that twist repose into torment. You settle back, the mat's reeds shifting under you, the herbs, dampness seeping through linen to chill your wrists, a deliberate discomfort that contrasts the growing warmth spreading from your core. The valerian's hush unraveling tension like threads from a loom. The mandrake's vapor rises slow, its tendrils curling visible in the lamp's low flame, pulling eyelids heavier, breath sinking with the hut's subtle creak as if the walls inhale the calm. Curiosity simmers beneath the easing. Will these aromatic whispers unlock dreams of serene fields, or merely veil the horrors, herbs, chemistry, a fragile truce against the duat's probing eyes? Spouse kneels opposite, grinding more roots with steady mortar presses, the pestles thud, a rhythmic anchor, their shoulders relaxing incrementally, eyes softening in the rite's shared rhythm as they add a pinch of chamomile for extra soothe. A kin elder watches from the corner, fingers steepled, face lined with knowing reverence, nodding faintly as the scents envelop, the group's presence a quiet bulwark where individual fears dissolve into collective peace. You inhale fully, the blend flooding your senses, bitter earth yielding to sweet release, body loosening, mind drifting on the herbs, gentle current, the chill fading into languid haze, sleep's pathway opening with reverent awe, the night's edge buffered yet ever near. The whispers intensify, calm descending like a slow tide, herbs forging the soul's quiet harbor amid the unknown. In this herbal hush, you feel the body's innate alchemy, mind soothed by nature's quiet craft, where calm's chemistry unveils our subtle resistance to night's call, a tender bridge between vigil and vulnerable surrender. You feel the tether loosen first, a subtle pull at your core like the Nile's current tugging a reed from its bank as you lie on the mat, the body's weight sinking into the reeds while your ka stirs, ethereal and light, rising from flesh's confines. The hut fades to a distant hum, the low crackle of the dying lamp, the faint scent of cooling earth from the walls, replaced by an expansive void where winds whisper through unseen passages, carrying the dry kiss of desert air that tastes of stardust on your spirit form. Beliefs flood your essence, the Ka's nightly journey, unbound by bone and sinew, venturing to the duat's edges to commune with ancestors or glimpse the gods, designs, but peril stalks the wanderer, superstitions warning that a fractured rite might strand the soul in twilight realms, leaving the body an empty vessel at dawn. You drift upward, the Ka untethering fully, gliding through the ceiling's weave as if it were mist, the night sky unfolding above, Nut's starry cloak arching vast, her form a silhouette against the infinite black, pulling you toward flickering lights that beckon like ancestral beacons. Tension coils in your disembodied state. The flesh below lies still, chest rising in shallow rhythm, but without the Ka's return. Life ebbs. Elders, tales echo of wanderers lost to Eru's gates, or ensnared by guardian serpents, their bodies wasting while spirits roam eternal. You push forward, the void yielding to glimpses, reed fields bathed in otherworldly glow, figures of forebears gesturing from afar, their translucent hands waving in welcome or warning. Evoking awe at the beyond's threshold, family below stirs in vigil, one kneeling by your form to sprinkle myrrh dust in a circle, fingers trembling as they trace the air above your head, eyes fixed in reverent watch. Another holds a mirror to reflect starlight onto your face, its gleam a lure for the Ka's recall, their posture hunched with shared dread, breath sinking in silent plea. You circle back, curiosity drawing you to a shimmering portal, visions of fertile valleys or shadowed trials flashing within. Contrasts, sharpening, the body's vulnerable hush against the Ka's boundless flight, the journey's rhythm building from drift to purposeful glide, beliefs forging the path where soul seeks wisdom amid the fear of severance. The tether tugs gently, pulling you earthward, the Ka reintegrating with a soft rush, awe lingering in the flesh's renewed pulse. In this fleshless voyage, you touch the spirit's hidden freedom, mind soaring beyond the body's cage, where the Ka's wander unveils our profound duality, resistance yielding to the night's call for reunion with the whole. You hear the echoes first, faint and resonant, like distant temple bells tolling through mist-shrouded halls, vibrating in your Ka as it surges free once more. The body's mat, a forgotten anchor below while you propel into the dream's vast expanse. The air, or ether, tastes of crisp dawn dew, clean and invigorating on your spirit tongue, carrying whispers from other realms, ancestral murmurs blending with the gods, subtle hums pulling you through veils where the living world's edges dissolve into shimmering boundaries. Freedom unfurls, your form weightless and swift, gliding past starlit rivers that flow upward, the mysterious liberty of dream travel granting access to realms unseen by flesh. Echoes of Aru's verdant fields or the Duat's veiled corridors, where the Ka roams unbound, seeking insights or perils that shape the waking soul. You navigate the currents weaving between luminous threads that connect realms, each echo a fragment, a loved one's laugh from the beyond, warm and fleeting, contrasting the sharp ring of warning chimes from guardian Netjeru, their forms hazy outlines watching with unblinking eyes. Tension simmers in your ethereal core. Superstitions remind that this freedom teeters on the edge, stray too far without ritual anchors, and the Ka might echo lost forever, echoes fading into silence as the body below stirs in empty repose, drawing night horrors to feed on the severed link. You press onward, curiosity fueling the glide, the realms, whispers growing clearer, visions of fertile harvests promised in one echo, shadowed betrayals in another's chill undertone, rhythm building from gentle drifts to purposeful dives, the freedom's awe laced with fear of the return's fragile tether. Other wanderers flicker in the ether nearby, their Ka forms pulsing toward you. One extends a spectral hand in silent communion, face alight with transcendent wonder, drawing close then veering as if sharing an unseen echo. Another circles a glowing portal warily, posture hesitant, eyes, ethereal sparks, darting back toward the earthly pull, the contrast heightening the mystery. Boundless exploration against the you follow an echo to a crystal cavern, its walls reverberating with prophetic tones, body below forgotten in the thrill. Yet the tether tugs faintly, realms echoing in harmonious discord. sleep's journey a sacred exodus where Ka claims its due. The echoes swell then recede, freedom yielding to the pull of dawn, the Ka descending with reverent haste, reintegrating in a rush that leaves the flesh humming with otherworldly residue. In dreams' echoing flight, you sense the Ka's profound liberty, mind-embracing realms beyond the body's hold, where freedom's mystery mirrors our restless quest, awe and fear entwining in the soul's eternal echo across the divide. You feel the river's coolness first, a gentle mist rising from the Nile's surface to kiss your skin, dampening the linen wrap as you unfurl it on the soft riverbank mud, the earth yielding cool and slick beneath your palms like a living breath. The water laps rhythmically against the reeds, a steady murmur that syncs with your pulse, carrying the faint mineral tang of silt on the breeze, earthy and vital, tasting of life's endless flow when a spray catches your lips. Night settles over the sacred waters, stars reflecting in ripples that evoke Hapi's nurturing yet unpredictable hold. The river, a conduit for dreams, where sustenance blooms or floods overwhelm. You arrange the mat carefully, sprinkling Nile water in a circle around it, the droplets cold on your fingers, forming a barrier against the river's hidden perils. Superstitions whispering of water spirits that rise with the current, drawing the Ka into submerged realms if the sleeper drifts too close, visions of drowning in abundance's excess. Tension prickles along your arms. The coolness soothes the day's heat but stirs unease, the lap of waves a lullaby laced with warning, curiosity pulling at the edge. Will sleep by these waters bring fertile omens of harvest, or tidal echoes of the duat's depths? You place a small offering of bread at the mat's head, its crust soft from the humidity, grounding the rite as the mist thickens, veiling the opposite bank in mystery. Family clusters nearby, one dipping a vessel into the flow with deliberate dips, water sheeting off the clay in silvery trails, their shoulders relaxing incrementally as they pour libations, eyes reflecting the river's gleam in quiet reverence. Another smooths the wrap with long strokes, face turned toward the current, brow furrowed against the night's subtle pull, the shared vigil a rhythm of splashes and breaths. You ease down, the mud's chill seeping through to your back, contrasting the water's distant warmth, body aligning with the lap's cadence, inhale on the flow, exhale on the ebb, reeds swaying in the breeze, sustenance's promise weaving awe amid the fear of submersion, sleep's threshold blurring with the river's eternal motion. The coolness deepens, mist enveloping like a shroud, the Nile's song cradling you toward its dream-woven depths, rituals a fragile raft on life-sustaining current. In the river's quiet clasp, you sense the pulse of existence, body cooled by waters, gift, mind adrift in their flow, where sustenance's awe tempers the fear of depths, revealing our intimate bond to the rhythms that both nurture and challenge the soul. You plunge into the dream's fertile current, the river's essence surging around your Ka like a warm, silken flood, silt-rich waters parting to reveal banks overflowing with golden sheaves, the air thick with the sweet, loamy scent of ripening grain that fills your spirit lungs. No body weighs you here. You glide effortlessly, the Nile's influence blooming in visions of abundance, lotus pads unfurling in endless arrays, their pink blooms heavy with promise, droplets beating like jewels as you brush past, tasting of honeyed nectar when one bursts against your form. Hope swells in the flow, the river's rhythm, steady laps transformed to a vital pulse, carrying whispers of harvest, fields swelling under Hapi's bounty where barren earth yields to lush greens, superstitions affirming these dreams as the gods' favor, seeding the waking world if rituals by the waters honor the gift, but twisting to drought's despair if neglect invites the river's wrathful ebb. You navigate the dream river, weaving through reed thickets that sway in ethereal breezes, each stalk a symbol of fertility's cycle, birth, growth, renewal, curiosity, drawing you to a central eddy where figures emerge. Kinkas pulsing nearby, one reaching toward a blooming Osiris plant, arms extended in reverent grasp, face radiant with anticipatory joy. Another circles the waters, edge warily, hand skimming the surface, brow creased. Tension ripples through you. The river's influence teeters, visions clarifying bountiful yields for the devoted, or withered stalks if hope falters. The Ka at risk of submersion in illusory floods that drown the spirit's vitality. You dive deeper, the current quickening, lotuses parting to unveil a harvest feast, baskets brimming with dates and emmer, the scent intensifying to a heady nectar that soothes and stirs, rhythms building from gentle drifts to exuberant swells, all mingling with the fear of reversal. Will this fertility sustain the village's morrow, or evaporate like mist at dawn? Other Ka forms join the eddy, gestures sinking in collective invocation, palms upturned to the dream sun, eyes reflecting the river's gleam. The shared journey, a tapestry of hope woven from the Nile's eternal thread. The vision's crest then recede, the Ka buoyed on waves of promise, the dream's fertility lingering like silt on the soul as you surface toward waking. In the river's dream tide, you sense life's renewing surge, mind fertile with hope's harvest, body distant yet nourished, where the Nile's influence reveals our deep-rooted yearning for abundance amid the fragile balance of sustenance and shadow. You settle into the worn reed mat, the faint creak echoing through the mud-brick chamber like a sigh from forgotten tombs. The air heavy with the lingering smoke of Kaifi incense, its resinous, honeyed notes wrapping around you, a bridge between eras. The linen sheet feels threadbare against your skin, cool from the night's draft slipping through cracks, carrying the distant Nile's murmur that tastes of timeless silt on your breath. In this quiet, ancient echoes stir, pulling you into the quest that spans sands and seasons, the unyielding longing for rest, rituals etched in stone yet pulsing in your weary bones, superstitions whispering that without them, the Ka drifts into voids where modern haste meets eternal unrest. You trace the headrest's curve, ebony smooth under calloused fingers, positioning it to cradle your neck just so, the rite's precision a defiance against sleep's caprice, where echoes of pharaohs, guarded slumbers mingle with your own daily grind, the body's ache from fields or forges mirroring the labor of ancestors. Tension coils in your chest, the incense's glow and the brazier flickers, casting shadows that dance like wandering bossols, curiosity gnawing at the boundary. Will tonight's drowsiness yield visions of fertile renewal, or unravel into the same fragmented nights that plague the hurried now, where electric hums replace reed songs, yet the fear of dawn's shortfall endures? Kin nearby mirrors the motion, one folding a protective amulet into the sheet's hem with deliberate tucks, their posture echoing generations of vigilance, eyes reflecting the flame's warm flicker in quiet solidarity. Another dims the rush light, hand lingering as if holding back the encroaching dark, face softened by the shared ritual that binds past to present. You close your eyes, the Nile's rhythm syncing with your breaths, deep inhale drawing in the incense's calm, exhale releasing the day's burdens, the contrast blooming, ancient reverence in simple herbs against the pull of unending tasks, the quest for rest, a river carving through time, awe rising in the hush as drowsiness descends, echoes harmonizing body's fatigue with soul's age-old yearning. The mat yields fully, the chamber fading into scented twilight, timeless longings converging in sleep's embrace. In this echoed hush, you feel the quest's unbroken thread, body craving the ancestors, repose, mind bridging sands and screens, where rest's pursuit unveils our shared fragility, resistance softening to the rhythm of nights that heal across the ages. You sink deeper into the mat's embrace, the faint rustle of linens echoing like whispers across millennia, the air carrying a hybrid scent, ancient myrrh blending with a modern hum of distant traffic, grounding yet disorienting as your eyelids flutter shut. The headrest cradles your neck, its unyielding curve a relic of old rites pressing into skin that's also marked by today's screens and stresses. The touch cool and insistent, pulling you towards sleep's shared abyss, where eras dissolve. The chamber's quiet deepens, broken only by your breaths syncing with an imagined chorus. Pharaohs, guarded sighs, mingling with a stranger's restless toss in some far-off city. The mystery of rest uniting humanity in its timeless grip. You drift into the dream's bridge, a luminous expanse where the Nile's flow converges with electric-lit streets, your ka gliding through veils that shimmer with hieroglyphs and glowing icons. The air tasting of silt and synthetic freshness, a fusion that tastes of universal longing. Figures emerge from the haze. An ancient scribe kneels by a reed brush fire, etching wards against night fears, his gaze lifting to meet yours in ethereal recognition, face weathered by sands. Across the divide, a modern soul huddles under artificial glow, fingers tracing a phone's edge for digital solace, eyes weary with the same vigilant dread of unrest. Tension threads the connection, shared beliefs echo, sleep as portal to wisdom or peril, where unwarded ka wander lost, bridging rituals of salt circles to apps, false night modes, the mystery evoking awe at our unbroken chain, yet fear of the void that claims the unanchored across ages. You reach toward them, the dream's current quickening, hands, yours and theirs, brushing in spectral solidarity, one scattering protective herbs that dissolve into pixels, the other nodding in silent communion, postures mirroring the eternal quest, bodies yielding to fatigue, minds probing the dark for meaning. Curiosity propels you further, the bridge expanding, visions of harvest feasts flickering with city skylines, Nile floods paralleling urban rains, rhythms building from slow drifts to vibrant pulses, contrasts sharpening, stone temples against steel towers, incantations against white noise, yet the hunger for restorative depth unites, sleep's mystery, a common thread weaving humanity's fabric. The figures fade, the bridge holding just long enough to etch the connection, your ka circling back, reintegrating with a gentle tug that leaves the body humming with echoed longings. In sleep's bridging hush, you uncover the soul's enduring weave, mind-linking eras in mystery's fold, where rest's quest exposes our collective vulnerability, bodies across time yielding to the night's shared, unyielding call.